After Audi announced it would enter Formula 1 as a full works operation after buying into the Sauber team, everyone expected it to be ready to arrive on the grid in 2026 with a big bang. After all, Audi has been ultra successful at all levels of motorsport, winning titles in the World Rally Championship, dominating Le Mans, and racking up endless triumphs in other sports car categories, touring cars and the Dakar Rally. But with its F1 arrival now just 9 months away, the German manufacturer is adopting a cautious tone and talking in terms of expectation management. In fact, its F1 chief Mattia Binotto is expecting a difficult start, especially amid huge uncertainty among the engine manufacturers about how the new 2026 power units will shape up. Speaking to the race, Binotto accepts that Audi is still behind where it would like to be, and with a potential title challenge not anticipated until 2030, he's expecting some bumpy periods when Audi's F1 journey kicks off properly next season. So what's changed from the lofty ambitions Audi held when it signed up to F1 in 2022, targeting winning races by 2028, to now bracing itself for a tough start and not expecting to do anything of note in its first 4 seasons? The downbeat prediction may seem at odds with Audi's illustrious racing record, but it's a realistic one given the challenges the project has faced from the start. It took over a Sauber team that was below par in competitive terms, but Audi chiefs also found it to be well behind when it came to infrastructure, technology and headcount too. Furthermore, the process of ramping up ahead of 2026 was hindered by what appears to be more than its fair share of politics and upheaval. This culminated in the departure of Sauber CEO Andreas Seidel and Audi's chief representative Oliver Hoffmann last year amid suggestions of a power struggle. And when their replacement Binotto arrived, he was hardly overawed by what he found. Binotto knew he had to dig deep to try to turn things around, accepting there was going to be no instant fix. That work slowly seems to be paying off because there appear to be some early fruits from the labour in terms of on-track performance, with Sauber a world away from where it was 12 months ago. Back then, Sauber was nailed to the bottom of the Constructors' Championship, failing to score any points until the Qatar Grand Prix in December. 6 months later, after Nico Hülkenberg added a healthy dose of points with a top 5 finish in the Spanish Grand Prix, the team is 8th in the standings, ahead of Aston Martin and Alpine. On pit stops too, an area which new team principal Jonathan Wheatley suggested offered a snapshot of a team's ultimate potential, Sauber is now operating in a different world. From the botched pit stops that marred the start of its 2024 campaign and could only be fixed by hardware changes, Sauber has set the best times of everyone at 2 races this year, Miami and Spain, and lies 3rd overall in the DHL fastest pit stop standings, behind only Ferrari and McLaren. At its factory, while the team is aware that some of its infrastructure still needs a lot of work, like the correlation processes between its wind tunnel, simulator and the track, some aspects have progressed. There's also been significant recruitment over the winter, with about 150 more people hired. This has been helped by changes to the financial regulations for 2026 that allow for adjustments based on cost of living in the country a team is based in. Swiss-based Sauber is also establishing an engineering hub in the UK as part of its expansion. Investments have been made towards a new simulator, and an evaluation process has begun on a revamp of Sauber's Hinwil facility to make it better suited to modern F1, although that's a long-term project that will take 2 to 3 years to reach fruition. Perhaps of most encouragement right now is that the Spanish Grand Prix was only the 4th race in the past decade in which Sauber has achieved a top 5 result, suggesting that short-term progress is also being made. Fortune may have played its part, thanks to Hülkenberg being the only driver with fresh soft tyres available for the final stint after pitting under the safety car, but to be in the position to capitalise proved that the upgrade brought to Barcelona worked. The improved performance of the car was clear. Rookie Gabriel Bortoleto qualified 12th, just over a tenth of a second away from making the top 10 in Q2, while Hülkenberg fell in Q1 after his lap dropped away in the final sector. Despite that, it was clear the Sauber was, at a heavily aero-dependent circuit, at least a top end of Q2 car, and could have made it into Q3 with perfect execution. The upgrade, which comprised a new floor, engine cover and front wing, was not about creating a significant downforce gain, but instead tackling a persistent problem of the Sauber C45 this year. With the car having been more peaky at the start of the season, it became especially sensitive to dirty air, which was making life difficult in races. While the performance in one race is not quite enough for Sauber to think it has addressed the weaknesses it had in turbulence, the fact Hülkenberg was able to race hard in the closing laps shows it has delivered on its expectations of producing a less peaky car. That is significant because while it's relatively easy to generate big downforce figures with these ground effect cars, doing so in a controllable way that doesn't lead to such weaknesses so the car works across a wide range of corner speed profiles is not easy. Barcelona was more a test of the medium and high speed corners, so it remains to be seen how the upgraded car works on slower tracks, but it's clear the 2025 Sauber is now less critical and giving the drivers more confidence. That indicates a good aerodynamic understanding that bodes well for further upgrades that are planned later in the year. From Binotto's perspective, the biggest change at Sauber is not something physical on the car, nor anything new at the factory. Instead, it is one of attitude and belief. He's talked of there being a new energy inside the team that is helping everything move forward. Progress has also been accelerated by the arrival of ex-Red Bull linchpin Wheatley at the start of April. Binotto says the pair were instantly aligned on what needs to be done. But a series of senior management changes at the team over the past 12 months inevitably gives the impression that the Audi operation has been overrun by politics and power battles. While that was true to some extent when it came to Seidel and Hoffmann, Binotto does not see things as simplistically as changes being the sign of an organisation in trouble. Instead, he argues it's a strength to take decisive action when mistakes have been made in terms of structure or individual roles, rather than ploughing on blindly. He thinks these were essential growing pains Audi needed to go through to refine its approach, especially with it never having operated in F1 before. From Binotto's perspective, one of the critical things needed was to merge the Audi and Sauber management structures, so it became one system. He says this was the trigger for the most recent management change that involved the departure of Audi's F1 engine chief Adam Baker in May 2025. Audi concluded it could not deliver what was needed if there were bosses running the chassis side and others in charge of the engine operation. To be successful, it could only have one chief, a role Binotto holds. While Binotto has had to work hard to tackle the immediate competitive difficulties that Sauber has faced, he knows that the biggest challenges still lie ahead. Beyond delivering improvements to the Sauber team itself, he's going to have to plot the merging of the Hinwil-based operation with Audi so that it operates as a cohesive unit. That means ensuring that what at the moment are two distinct organisations, Audi's engine division in Neuburg, Germany, and Sauber's F1 chassis factory in Hinwil, Switzerland, effectively merge into one. Integration also means lining up the different cultures and mindsets that exist in independent teams and manufacturers, a merger that has not always delivered the best results in the past. The potential for corporate meddling was one of the reasons Red Bull backed away from doing a deal with Porsche for 2026 to build its own engines instead. Binotto does not believe that manufacturer involvement is necessarily a bad thing, as it provides the means to get things done. Audi's financial might gives it the freedom to dig deep into its pockets to make necessary improvements, which means hiring new staff, building better facilities, or securing better equipment. Although wider financial issues for the Volkswagen Group means it's not necessarily flush with money to throw at F1, a 30% sale of the Audi team to the Qatar Investment Authority last year helped free up some cash flow and delivered a timely capital injection. While getting the cohesiveness will not be as straightforward as it was for Binotto at Ferrari, where the engine and chassis departments were walking distance from each other at Maranello, he does not believe the distance between Hinwil and Neuburg is a barrier to success. With Red Bull in Milton Keynes and Honda in Japan becoming a dominant force in F1 in recent years, he sees no obstacles preventing Sauber and Audi doing the same, considering there is just a 4-hour drive between their factories. While Binotto is convinced Audi now has the structure in place it needs for 2026 and that the team is moving forwards, he is not pretending it's mission accomplished. In fact, he accepts that the world will be different next year, as the scrutiny on his squad's performances will be at a whole new level when it becomes Audi. He knows that when the iconic 4 rings are on the bodywork of the F1 car next year, expectations will rise and the internal pressure will increase. Audi confesses it's playing catch-up when it comes to developing and building a modern turbo-hybrid power unit, which is why Binotto has made his prediction about a potential bumpy road in terms of performance or reliability. But he is sure that the building blocks are in place for it to weather whatever challenges arise in 2026. Its ambitions are very much focused on building momentum for a proper title tilt at the end of this decade. Binotto admits they are far from where they would like to be, but he doesn't view this as a moment of defeat. He sees it as the first step towards the objective of being world champion in 2030.